Hello, and welcome to This Week in People. We are back after our Thanksgiving break, and once again, we are excited to be supported by our friends over at PIN, the platform for distributed workplace communication. There's a lot to cover. I'm going to dig right in. So we're going to open with some articles around the workplace. I know a lot of you who are practitioners are thinking, hopefully optimistically, that maybe there'll be some semblance of an office or a workplace at some point in 2021. So there's a couple articles that I'm going to include in the recap. I'll have links to all the articles on the LinkedIn post. But there's several that actually get into some of the things that you might expect in a new office, including perks, which reaffirms what we've all known is that nobody gives a damn about your ping pong tables. So what will it begin to look like? I think that there's a general consensus that offices will probably never look like they did in January of 2020. And so this article gets into some of the ideas of what an office might actually look like with the increase in distributed and or hybrid workforces. The role of an office is going to be quite different. Why? Everybody's moving to ski cities. That's why. Everybody's moving out of Silicon Valley and going skiing. Not really, but people are obviously, this kind of migration out of high cost of living cities and the lower cost of living cities is very real. And our future will certainly be much more remote than our past. So people are taking advantage of that. And again, that means that the role of an office will actually be quite different. That's good news. The bad news, working from home doesn't exactly mean working less. There's a report from the Economist that gets into actual work times based on different regions and different countries. And so this article is a interesting look at we're not commuting, but we are working more right now. And so that is definitely something that as people practitioners, we've got to be mindful of. How do we create some barriers for our employees so that they're not burning themselves out in an office, in their home, and or their kitchen, or wherever they might be doing work as they've adjusted to this. The good news is that more technology companies are releasing their diversity reports and metrics. We covered one from Microsoft in last week's episode. The bad news is that we're not really seeing a significant year-over-year upward trend in the impact of these efforts. So this article focused mostly on some of the big names in tech, as you can see here. But as it points out, the advancements we've actually made have been fairly modest, if that. So again, just reinforces that we have a lot of work to do. And speaking of work to do, this was other big news that came out from NASDAQ this week, is that they have filed their intent to actually change some of their regulations, that to be listed on NASDAQ, you have to have representation from female LGBTQ and non-white members of your board. And so it is a proposal. It's going through the process right now. I think it won't be in effect until 2022. But this could be big news for companies that want to be listed on NASDAQ. They will actually have to show that they'll actually have to have that representation. And if they don't, they need to have a story as to what they're doing or risk being delisted from NASDAQ. So again, a tangible step that could potentially have a pretty profound impact on at least representation at the board level. Coinbase. So Coinbase has been in the news quite a bit since their public stance on becoming an apolitical organization. This was a New York Times article that was a pretty scathing report, including interview from over a dozen former Black employees talking about their experience working at Coinbase. Coinbase released a blog post on their own site, somewhat refuting many of these allegations, but definitely a sobering read at a time when Coinbase is under certainly a microscope for their stance around political activism in the workplace. So definitely worth your time to read this. And speaking of worth your time, Candice Morgan is a venture partner now. She used to head up DEI at Pinterest, one of the leading thinkers, I think, in this space. And she had a great Fast Company piece on building race-conscious equity, diversity, and inclusion strategies. So definitely worth your time to read that. Another interesting article on what it takes to lead through an era of exponential change. This article was from MIT Sloan, and it really framed how there are three, actually this was from HBR, sorry. Three, that we're kind of in this 3D environment. Other people may call it a VUCA environment, but the reality is that there's drastic and multiple change catalysts that are happening right now, and that is likely not going to be an event limited just to 2020. So it gives some suggestions in the article around how we can adapt to an environment that will be perpetually adapting. So I think that's important for practitioners to have a grasp on. Another article I found interesting was this article around measuring culture. This was the article from MIT Sloan. It's a deep dive into culture, and they've got some really interesting statistics. They've did an assessment across hundreds of companies, reading and kind of digesting and distilling their stated values on their website, and it gives you some of the key recurring themes. So if you're going through a values exercise, you could probably see what are some of the overused terms and jargon that is in the marketplace today. And it really organized by categories as well. So particularly any of you that are going through any values redesign or culture programs or even EVP work, I think this will be an interesting article for you to bookmark and reference. Another thing I want to flag is this Goldmine article from Jude over at Affirm. She's our Chief People Officer. They've recently announced that they're moving to remote first. That's not necessarily novel, but what is novel is she had an incredible article that really break down exactly how they were approaching it. From state-based comp bands for relocation, so you can work from anywhere. Here's going to be the comp bands associated with it at a state level, so it's the most granular I've actually seen a company present that, to spending wallets, how they're actually going to allocate money for employees that are working from home, right? So you're not coming to an office anymore. That's freeing up some physical real estate cost that's being reallocated back to employees. And so this breaks down this among other things. So I would definitely recommend for any of you that are navigating how you're going to be being remote first, definitely bookmark this article. Jude has presented a gift to all of us in their work there. And last article I want to leave you with is the All Hands podcast hosted by, it's from Lattice, hosted by Caitlin Holloway, founding partner at 776, somebody that I definitely admire in the space, interviewing her collaborator and fellow founding partner at 776, Alexis Ohanian. So they work together at Reddit. They've spent a lot of time together over the years, and it's just a refreshing conversation around not just why Alexis founded 776, but really the role of conscious culture building within organizations. There are so many great takeaways, and to kind of get a window into the chemistry between Alexis and Caitlin is also pretty awesome. So huge ambitions for how they're going to be redesigning venture capital, and I think that they're going to be leading the way in a variety of capacities that they dig into in this podcast that I think other VCs will soon be emulating. And lastly, it's December. It's the holiday season, and I am going to be taking the rest of this month off on hiatus as I enjoy some holiday memories and time with my girls and my family, and get ready for the launch of the Redefining HR book in January. So I want to thank all of you for tuning into this experiment with This Week in People. I've been enjoying it. Your feedback has really helped me refine it. I know this episode went long. We had a lot to cover since we were off last week. But I just want to wish all of you a very happy and safe holidays. 2020 was a lot. We are about to be on the other side of this. And I am really hoping for much better days in 2021 for all of you out there. And I just want to thank you for your support of the show. And I'll be back in January with some annoying self-promotional plugs on the book, but I do think you're going to love it. And I'm super proud of the role the book will hopefully play in helping many HR and people practitioners redefine their practices. So with that, thanks so much, and we will see you in the new year.